Another week, another news video. This week we have Nexus Mods back at it again, Mindseye gambles on fixing their game post-launch, Xbox lays off staff, and more. This is Old Man Raging at the News for the 30th of June 2025. And to start things off, the publishers of Dark Dreams Don't Die are recommending their own title. Their comment on it kinda sounds like a mobile game is, and I quote, "Sweary's supernatural murder mystery comes to PC, mixing point-and-click adventure with swipe-based action scenes. Published by Playism." The Reddit user u/Technomaestro said in the comments, "Isn't this game famously unfinished too?" And looking into it, yeah, the game won't be finished because the director left the studio to make his own and said he would never work on it. The rest of the comments are just memeing on the situation, and I can't really blame them as this is one hell of a joke. Moving on the 23rd of June, Noxie, co-founder of Hypixel Studios, announced that the development of Hytale ended and is winding down the studio over the next few months. For the people, like me, who lived under a rock, Hytale was supposed to be a sandbox game with RPG elements that was worked on for over 10 years. Noxie went on explaining how the team's vision for Hytale changed over time and how their ambitions kept growing more complex, and even after the reboot of the game's engine, the team found that Hytale still wasn't far along as needed to be. He went on how they looked at reducing scope, adjusting timelines, and finding new angles to move forward, but all of those options were a compromise on what Hytale was supposed to be. Additionally, he went on thanking Riot Games and the community for their belief and support for the game over its development cycle, and ended on a somewhat positive note saying, and I quote, "Even though we are closing this chapter, the spirit of Hytale and everything we hope it could be still stays with us. We're proud of what we built and will carry those lessons forward into whatever comes next." If this was the end of things, cool. But there's always more. Slinky, an ex-developer on Hytale and Hypixel that left on the 27th of April last year, started retweeting experiences the developers had with Hytale. He also made a chain of tweets about his experience with Hytale. The last two tweets are the most important ones, where he states, and I quote, "Slowing down can be positive when you're nearing a finish line, and in many senses the legacy engine was moving towards a stage where slowing down would have been warranted, but when the multi-platform push came in, and I think that is the moment where things took a turn for me. This was the infectious point where things changed direction, everything changed, organization, structure, team responsibilities, leadership, hiring strategy, tech, vision, etc. Absolutely everything changed with a short time span. It felt foreign to me, which just screams that this project got screwed because of, to no one's surprise really, corporate greed." In the 10-year span of the game, there was a portion of the community screaming that the game had a feature creep, and Sleeky commented on that, and I quote, "Hearing this isn't feature creep. Honestly, I can only smash my face in the table if anyone believes that. Systems that were already far ahead of Minecraft at the time were completely reinvented to make them quote-unquote even better, resulting in fuck all." To which this tweet got a reply from the former founder of Hypixel Studios, aka Simon. Simon stated, "During my time working in Hytale in between 2016 and 2019, it was maybe absolute maximum 2 years away from a PC release with the legacy engine and vision. I still have videos, screenshots, and old client builds to attest to that. All developers from that time that I've talked to say the same. There were even more statements like how the team was adding gameplay elements every week, and how he was burning anywhere between 350k to 400k a month on Hytale development and needed funds for it. He also believes that having the Riot Games label and a mega viral trailer with bigger funding and higher expectations made them doubt themselves. He couldn't live up to those high expectations and was given the option to leave Riot. And to wrap this up, he said, and I quote, "I haven't talked to Noxy about Hytale in a while. It was a difficult topic every time we talked about it in the past for many years. I could feel his pain. I wish him well in the future. May he trust himself to do things instead of trusting random, quote-unquote, experienced people. Noxy and my relationship was very good back then because it would empower him in a way that gave him agency while I was in the shadows, giving him confidence. I'm legit upset seeing people bashing Noxy so hard. He's totally a good human being, and that's probably why Hytale suffered. He trusted and believed the wrong people to drive this project home. Day 1 vision and Day 3000 vision are completely different. We'll probably never see what it was meant to be. I wish there was a way." While originally writing this, I thought that would be it, but there was a fan under the name of Owell that opened the floodgates by reacting out to Simon. He tagged Simon and said, "I think I speak for the entire Hytale community when I say that Hytale can't be cancelled. It was a game with infinite potential. Wouldn't there be any possibility that, together with Riot, you could partner with the former team to revive the legacy engine?" Simon replied with, "I have not seen the game since 2019, so it would be hard for me to know if it's worth looking into. It seems like the chapter is truly closed. I do have money to run a 30 people team for a while, but they were over 150, so not sure what kind of beast it has become to handle. This resulted in people talking about buying the IP and getting the OG developers, which Simon wasn't sure he could handle. Tabo suggested a Kickstarter, and Simon jokingly said, "Tubby, don't bully into buying it. I'm living a good peaceful life." And with a little bit more push, Simon said, "I get it, 100%. Look, I'm even down to put $25 million by myself to finish Hytale. That's how much I believe in it. No Kickstarter, just raw passion, high pressure, and high risk taking." He went on how he would reduce the scope of the game and how he was just thinking about it and would need to consult with his family first. There is even the hashtag Save Hytale going on Twitter, with even a letter to Riot asking to consider having some of Hytale's stuff to be open sourced so the community could continue the legacy. In other news, Nexus Mods are at it again. Yay! This time with ownership changes, but they're still banning mods for no good reason. This time, get this, the Kaya Bear Legs mod for Stellar Blade was removed. Just to rub salt into the wound, Ayaka Mods tweeted out that the Kaya Bear Leg mods for Stellar Blade was removed from Nexus Mods. At the same time, the mod author did upload it to Ayaka Mods. This again shows that Nexus Mods will continue with their activism no matter what. This, is literally a harmless mod. Did they go ahead and remove it? I wonder, these troglodytes, have they seen the Dead or Alive Extreme series? Let's be real, if they did, they would be in a hospital because of a heart attack. But anyways, back to Nexus Mods. Trepid Seraphim also got his comments removed multiple times for mentioning other alternative sites. Yes, it is again Nexus Mods terms of service to link anything that is on YouTube, but those aren't links. He was just name dropping alternative mod hosting websites and got banned for 2 weeks because of quote-unquote trolling. I'd at least say that he's banned for breaching TOS or something. The only trolls are the ones that are moderating the Nexus Mods forums and mod posts. Nexus Mods is also banning tattoos for Stellar Blade. Might as well ban anything that doesn't turn even to the giant rock from the first scene in Indiana Jones and Riders of the Lost Ark. Crumbs also attached an image while someone asked the mod owner if his mod was removed and for what reason. The mod author said, and I quote, "Some mod removed with some others. They're supposed to send you a warning before getting removed, but he didn't and won't respond to DMs. Probably the moderator that removed the mod is currently busy hyperventilating because his precious heart couldn't take tattoos that say Black King with a crown on top. Either this guy needs some medical help or is just pure racist. Maybe both." And the concerns for monetization is still present with Nexus Mods. Veridark shared a gaming startup monetization cheat sheet made by Victor Folman, the new owner of Nexus Mods, and dug a lot into this. If you want to check that out, link is in the source. It is an interesting read. The CEO replied with, and I quote, "I get the skepticism, we haven't earned your trust yet, and frankly, until we've tangibly helped mod authors and users, anything I say would be viewed as just words." And also replied about the cheat sheet saying, "As for the monetization cheat sheet, I understand how it might look out of context, but the core purpose of that sheet is to help founders understand how to avoid harmful monetization. If you look closely, most of it is red flags, warnings, and advice on what not to do. It's a toolbox, not a strategy. Reminder, this was said before the mods were removed." He did finish it off by saying that his DMs are always open, and it looks like there might be a follow-up to this situation. Oh boy, I can't wait for this to turn into another Genshin Impact VA shit show. Moving on, Square Enix recognized Expedition 33's success. Finally! In a shareholder meeting, one investor said they would like the new Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy games to be turn-based and used Expedition 33 as an example. Square Enix responded that they are aware of Expedition 33 and believe that command-based RPGs, most likely referring to turn-based RPGs, but I don't know, I need to check with their ethics committee first, are the origin of Square Enix. They value the genre of command-based RPGs and plan to continue delivering such games in the future. And as Genki pointed out in the comments, the response does not mean the next Final Fantasy game will be turn-based. Yeah, that's one way to kill the hopes and dreams of your potential buyer, Square. I know your next game will be an NFT game, that's for sure. Not like you haven't done a few and one is about to end this upcoming month. But hey, you know, I'm just nitpicking apparently. I'm just nitpicking, you know. Moving on, GameSpot released their review of Death Stranding 2, and we're gonna look at it. Keep in mind I haven't played the prequel, just not my type of game really. To be honest, not enough memes. After all, they're the DNA of the soul. But on that note, the reason why I picked this up is because it had the, and I quote, questionable tropes around women, as the game article put it. Oh boy. The only thing questionable is gonna be the writer's train of thought here. Before we get into it, I would like to point out that Death Stranding 2 has a 90 out of 100 on Metacritic, and most critics love this game. Now, the asshole in me thinks that's because the game has a skip boss fight option, not like, for example, Deus Ex Mankind Divided and its approach to pacifism, where you can take out the boss in a non-lethal manner. It literally says, and I quote, pretend you won on the option and just flat out skip the encounter. Now, this journalist, if you can call him that, had an entire paragraph about women and how it carries the baggage of some of the series' worst tropes. He wrote, and I quote, "There's an unescapable photography minigame featuring 3 women posing in front of the game, as well as a central character who often takes her shoes off as crew members are running commentary about this habit. Wow! So now women aren't allowed to take their shoes off? Someone please put these people on the next rocket and send them to colonize Venus or something. They can write all the articles and spread them between one another all day, every day, as much as they want over there. But sadly, this is not all. Mind you, this is a quote from the article. Since you're witnessing photorealistic depictions of real-life actors, it can slip into being a bit weird. My brother in Christ, they know what's going on in the game. If the actor found this quirk weird or uncomfortable, then why would they agree to the job in the first place? Oh, brother. I won't bore you with this excuse on article, but what I'll do is go into the comments of this thing, sorting by most voted on GameSpot's article. You can see Metal Gear X replying, and I quote, "This review is loaded with personal bias. The quote, bad bullet points make it so obvious." To which I agree. This is just a piss poor attempt at subtly saying, "I don't like this game because it depicts hot women having fun." But I can't be too harsh on it, because people crucify me. Another person replied to that comment, "Opinions are personal and art is subjective." To which it got instantly decimated by the user Gorilla Face. Then people shouldn't write professional reviews if they can't keep their bias out of it. This is supposed to be journalism, but no, it comes down to opinionated slop where game changing mechanics or adding new things or any complaint is then decided if it's good or bad on their opinion. Someone's living up to their username right here. Moving on, Chrono Odyssey is in a bit of trouble. A redditor on r/Chrono Odyssey pointed out that the game looks a lot like New World, both being MMORPGs, mind you. You can see when they're put side by side, the placement of everything is 1-to-1. Honestly, the art style just reminds me a lot of BDO. The subreddit also has a pinned mod post talking about the exclusive negative posts. Because yeah, that's a good sign, ain't it, boys? Now, looking at other subreddits, people are not happy with it. A user on r/MMORPG posted, "First impression? The game just has no soul. It was hyped as some next-gen visual beast, but it looks rough. Enemies render at low FPS. That the game itself, which already runs like crap. I'm getting 40 to 80 FPS on a high-end rig. Combat feels super mid, buggy as hell, awful animations, barely any skills to use. Honestly, feels like it was made for console first and the PC version is just a lazy port. Kinda feels like New World 0.5. Even the Steam user Hex shared their specs and still said they had around 40 to 60 FPS on low settings. There are claims that the build the people are playing on was from the end of the last year, and another user linked that developers said, "Our primary goals for this test were to validate the core gameplay and conduct server stress testing." Cool, at least they learned their lesson with character creation because they realized that people can make quote-unquote uncomfortable characters. And a mad lad linked one of them. Honestly, this looks better than the dwarfs in the new Snow White movie. Moving on, Mindseye is having layoffs after its catastrophic launch. The number isn't exact, but it's over 100 people according to IGN due to a redundancy process in use. The number was speculated upon due to a 45-day consultation process that begins on the 23rd of June this year. Under UK law, the consultation process triggers when an employer wants to lay off 100 or more employees. The studio has around 500 employees, 300 from the UK and 200 overseas, and the LinkedIn profile says 448 people are working there. It really doesn't look great for them considering the total player peak is 3.3k and only a 38.8% positive reviews. The reason why I bring this up is simple. They were accused of review botting. The first accusation came from Mike's channel, showing an image of two identical reviews from two different accounts, and another person replied with, "Yes," and showing a line of similarly worded reviews. The intern running the account short-circuited and replied to Mike's oof comment and thanking both of them. The studio never used any bots nor used any bots ever. But that's not all. A voice actor from Mindseye came out and criticized the company for releasing a half-baked product. In an interview with Check IT TV, Alex Hernandez said for whatever reason, a company deciding to release something that has these issues and then sort of taking care of it post-mortem. Obviously, we weren't the first game to do this. A very notorious example is Cyberpunk. As a gamer and as a consumer, I don't love that model. I don't like that moving forward. Truer words have never been spoken. After all, this model can lead to a bad first impression and as a result missed sales. And if you only have one chance to make a first impression, you don't want to miss it. Now, if you want to check out the interview, I'll have that in the sources. I mean, it is a good interview, so I strongly recommend having a look at it if you have time. Moving on, Rocksteady Studios posted a tweet celebrating 10 years since Batman Arkham Knight was released. The thing is, they use the term "we," and normally that wouldn't be a problem. However, in this case, the developers who made that game left the studio long ago. And Matt of Savvy said it best. You mean, former staff released it. This company isn't the same as the previous year, considering they have the vomit colors in their profile picture and the hashtag Black Lives Matter in their bio. There were two more posts pointing it out. I could go on, but that's just beating a dead horse, and hitting bones is not very nice. Moving on, a developer that's working on Witcher 4 says that players shouldn't make opinions until the game is out. Alright, I'll bite. Let's not judge a book by its cover. Except, the books have covers to attract people to them. Same concept for trailers, really. But nobody tell that guy that. Going into the article, Jan Hermanowitz spoke to Games Radar and said, when the game will be out, you'll be able to see for yourself and fully embrace her character, her story, and I think that will be the moment to make opinions and make calls. He continued with, we showed her in various situations, two emotional states, very distinct from one another, and there are many more parts of her that we will show in the future. Just as a reminder, this is the same company that hired this troll. She's a sweet baby ink defender, and in an interview with DualShockers last year, she stated that everything must be done to push the LGBTQ+ agenda. Oh, brother. Witcher 4 is gonna have a hard road ahead of it. Anyways, Jan also brings up the books and claims that it's very clear that the story was slowly transforming from Geralt to Ciri. Well, if we're bringing up the books, how about we also look at the Book of Elves before we start throwing the Witcher term left and right. Moving on, NetEase Games announces a AAA single-player action-adventure game, Blood Message, for consoles and PC. The release date is still not announced, but the trailer has 3 million views with 104k likes and only 723 dislikes. However, NetEase is a Chinese company that has its fingers in a lot of mobile slot games, with a lot of microtransactions. If you want to look into it yourself, be my guest. Wikipedia has the list of games they had their hands in, and just FYI, they have 4 games that were discontinued. You can be excited for it for sure, but I'll personally take it with a grain of salt until I see the finished product. Moving on, Splitgate Studio 1047 Games are laying off people. This is the same studio whose director went on stage with a "Make FPS Great Again" hat, refused to apologize, then bent the knee to trolls and apologized. In the LinkedIn post, the developer said that it was, quote-unquote, redirecting resources to build the best game for our players. They also added, and I quote, "We are sad to see our teammates go, and we are actively working on helping them secure new opportunities." End quote. The co-founders have said they wouldn't take their salaries in order to work on the next phase of the project. This does come off as them truly believing that the project will succeed, but I'll believe it when I see it. It also doesn't help the case that the studio is small to begin with only having 171 employees, according to their LinkedIn page. In other words, don't nod. The developers of the DI-focused game Lost Records, Bloom and Rage are laying off staff. Naturally, the number is undisclosed. I would be surprised if they came out and said the number for a change, but oh well, I guess I have high hopes. Naturally, those that got laid off posted on LinkedIn that they are, and I quote, proud of their accomplishments. And the only one who didn't was the senior game and level designer, Matteo Tremblay, just said, "I'm sad to say I was part of yet another wave of layoffs affecting the video game industry." Well, I mean, the layoffs wouldn't happen if you people just started making good games and not injecting your political views in them. I mean, it's not hard to look at Elden Ring and think, yeah, this works because they didn't inject political nonsense and just focused on gameplay. If you're also wondering, there isn't even over 100 people playing the game at the point of recording, with an all-time peak player count of just under 3k and with at best having just over 121k owned copies as estimated by PlayTracker. But this isn't the only bad game we'll be talking about this week. That's because this thing can't just die. The Failguard is back. This time the writers for DI the Failguard refute Jason Schreier's sloppy writing and claim they were incapable of making a quote-unquote better Dragon Age. Yes, you heard that correct. And no, I didn't read it wrong. On the 12th of June, the senior designer, Brian, said that he couldn't make a better game, and added that it's still the best reviewed game he ever worked on in his 25+ year career. Alright, who's gonna tell him? Naturally, the sucking up part doesn't end there. Trick Weeks, the narrative designer for Failguard, sucked up to the post and said, "I was so lucky to get the chance to work with you, man. Cannot wait to see what you make next." With Brian responding, "Likewise." And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how people cannibalize their own kind. After all, Jason Schreier did go to bat for the game when it came out. And now for something refreshing. Dark interviewed Benjamin Whittleson, an indie game developer working at Suzaku, about the state of modern gaming being unsuccessfully cancelled in 2019 and his up-and-coming game, Surangama. I won't cover the whole thing because it's long and you might want to go over and watch it yourself. It's quite good. I'm just gonna cover a few things here and there really that stood out to me. At the start of the interview, Benjamin talked about his history and likes, how he has 3 hobbies: drawing, video games, and martial arts, and his dream of moving to Japan to work for Team Ninja or Tecmo. He was sadly let go in 2017 due to a lack of work, where his partner convinced him to take 6 months off to make his own game, which turned into Sense, a cyberpunk ghost story. During the interview, Lara asked about the mainstream AAA industry and has lost sight of the products being entertained, to which the mad lad replied with, "Yes, absolutely. I'm a gamer myself. And this to me screams like someone who knows what they're doing and won't end up making a slop game like Suicide Squad or Concord. But continuing with the quote, I always try to think in terms of the customer, even when I have to make business decisions that I know aren't what I would want as a customer. I at least feel bad about it and try to avoid it at all costs. This should be the mentality of the higher-ups in companies, but they see games as just another money printer. Last thing I'll touch upon is this. Veridark asks, there is a small and yet vocal group of individuals on social media who believe that the quote-unquote over-sexualization of characters in video games are harmful. To which Benjamin explained he has mixed feelings about it. He loves Stellar Blade, pre-ordered Wu Chang, and for Christmas he got the new Dead or Alive Extreme game for PS5. He also said, and I quote, I will never forget people who took Senran Kagura away from me. I'm so happy to see fun, sexy games making a comeback, as if they ever had to go away. At the same time, I am slightly butthurt about how much crap I got over making stuff like this since day one. Haha, especially since nothing I've made is anywhere near as aggressive as Stellar Blade or the First Descendant. Now that it's deemed quote safe and cool, I think you will see more sexy content in games across the board. My butthurt is completely petty and fueled by jealousy, but thanks to these bigger teams with bigger names, I do hope it makes it easier to find investors and funds to be able to bring my games to the next level. Again, I can't stress this enough, go read the full review or listen to it on Veridark's channel, the links will be in the source material. Now, remember last week when we mentioned how Molly was excited to take her fridge? Let's check up on that game, shall we? It got a peak player count of 14k, which sounds good and has at most 144,000 or as low as 57,000 copies sold, but there is over 70,000 voice lines and over 100 actors, and that can get a little expensive. The developers, as far as I could find, they released the cost of making the game, but I wouldn't be surprised if this game didn't make back the development costs. Talk about fridging your own game. Moving on, Xbox is facing more potential layoffs. Bloomberg reported that managers within Xbox are expecting substantial cuts to be made across the division. Yet again, Microsoft denied the comment when approached by the publisher. The number is unknown, and Microsoft, as a reminder, laid off 19,000 people across its video game business at the start of 2024. That's one hell of a New Year's gift to its employees, am I right? And to end things off on a more upbeat note, Palworld released their collab with Terraria. It features 6 new weapons, 7 armor pieces. They added the current final boss of Terraria called the Moon Lord. Fishing and salvage systems were added, alongside new islands and a new mission system on the island of Palpagos. Zoe can now be recruited as an ally if you complete her mission, or in Palworld fashion, throw enough Pal spheres at her just like any other NPC. There is a Pal trust system, and if the Pal trusts you more, they will have more stats. This can lead into some very funny interactions. And for some people, you can sleep with your pals. There is now treasure maps, and enemy factions can now build bases like the player. They are raidable, but if you raid them, you will get a blueprint related to the said faction. The settlement is overhauled, with wild pals being able to interact with one another, and the player cap being raised to 65. There's more, but the final things I'll cover is that pals have new skins, and pals are able to swim, while others just sit there aura maxing. Anyways, that's it for this week. Like it if you liked it, dislike it if you dislike it, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you next time.